Hopefully by now you have a good understanding of what we've set up. We've added some custom rule sets. I've showed you about annotated rule sets. I've even showed you how to pass in a specific set of standards via the command line for PHP Code Sniffer to use. Wouldn't it be great, though, if our code editor could do this while we type, or do it after we save, or do it via a commit hook, so that we don't have to go to the command line and remember to type all of this gobbledygook anytime we want to check a file? Well, we can. I'm going to show you in this example how to set up Sublime Text 3 to automatically sniff your code every time you save it. So how do we do that? I'm going to use packagecontrol.io to install a plugin called Phpcs. And then I'm going to configure that plugin to point at a certain set of standards, and I'm going to tell it exactly how I want it to sniff my files, where and when. So how do we do that? If you haven't already installed package control for Sublime, you really should, because it's fantastic. There's so many good stuff out there, and this allows you to install them really quickly and easily via the command prompt. So let me hit the right key combination and type package control, and I want to install package, and I'm going to type phpcs. Oh, what's this? Okay, preface. There's an awesome linting plugin for Sublime Text. It's called Sublime Linter. And Sublime Linter has a whole bunch of child plugins like ESLint and SassLint, HTML linting, CSS linting, and it has its own PHPCS plugin. I have never gotten it to work. There are several developers here at Web Dev Studios who have also never gotten it to work. I've even helped developers outside of this agency who couldn't get this plugin to work. I don't know why. I've only had luck using this plugin, which I've already installed. So if I go back here and do the command panel, I go to list packages, you'll see that I already have PHPCS installed. So once you've installed PHPCS, we need to configure it. Now all this plugin does, it's basically a wrapper for the command line tool that we've already installed and set up. So let's look at the default rules that come with PHPCS from package control. It's going to show all of these things, which you cannot edit, by the way. You need to copy and paste these into your user thing. But here are all of the configuration options that you could pass to PHPCS via the command line. Well, they're also available via this plugin. And you can configure that under your user settings. So you'd go to Sublime Text, Preferences, Package Settings, PHP Code Sniffer, and then Settings User. This is where you tell Sublime the Sublime plugin PHPCS where your PHPCS executable lives. Well, how do you find that out? On Mac OS, you can just type which PHPCS, and then you can copy and paste this path right into your configuration file. If you're on Windows, you can type where.exe and then PHPCS, which clearly is not going to work on a Mac, but then you would copy and paste that into the PHPCS executable path. And this is going to tell this plugin where to go find PHPCS. The only other standard argument or option that I have set up in Sublime is what standard do I want to use if no other standard is present? Remember, in a previous video, I talked about annotated rule sets and how PHPCS will scan the current working directory and look for an annotated rule set, which I have right here. What I'm doing is I'm basically setting up a backup, a fall gap, a backstop. If no annotated configuration file is found, it is going to fall back to whatever standard I choose. And that's what I'm choosing here. Is I'm choosing the agency I work for has our own coding standards, and it's called Web Dev Studios. How do I know how to see all that? Well, if you type phpcs-i, you can see all of the globally installed rule sets, and Web Dev Studios is one of them. I could easily change this to WordPress or even GegCS. And Sublime Text will fall back to this standard if no other standard is found up the directory tree. So how does this work? Once it's already saved, so I'm just going to close all this out. Once you've installed PHPCS and you've told it where PHPCS lives and you've set a global standard, or if you have an annotated rule set, you can just start typing And then once you save a file, Sublime Text will open this window and tell you exactly what line and what went wrong as soon as you save. Now you can change it to do it like while you type. To do that, you would go back to Preferences, Package Settings, PHP Code Sniffer, go to Default, and then you would have to change this file in your user file. So I got to go all the way back here, go back to Code Sniffer, open up user, and then drop in this, and I could tell it false if I wanted it to do it differently. And that's how Sublime plugins work. You have to copy and paste, these things over to your user file, and that overrides the default. But I have it set up very basic. I'm simply telling it where it lives. I'm telling it the standard, and by default, this plugin will lint my PHP every time I save the file. Now I can fix it. If I save it, you'll notice it goes away. If I make it broken and save it, you'll notice it pings me. It tells me something's wrong, what line is wrong, and how to fix it. That's how to set up PHPCS, the plugin from packagecontrol.io in Sublime Text 3.